Why does my website receives approximately 10 fake users per day?
Hi.
We are in a bit of a weird situation. We receive around 10 fake users per day. They just sign up, receive the confirmation email and do nothing.
I created a script that just removes them after 72h. But why would bots do that? Make us spend money on emails?
Fill our database? Piss us off?
They seem like real emails, at gmail.com, business emails, etc.
But I am sure they are fake users. How can I mitigate this? Just add a CAPTCHA?
I would recommend you to implement a simple honeypot system. It's an human invisible input field in your form which only bots will fill. Then you can filter between real and bot users.
Winking face. How do you prevent accidentally filtering out screen reader users?
Fuck 'em, that's why.
In all seriousness, this is a great question and would probably trigger the screen reader to ask the user to fill it in.
Maybe add some accessibility label that indicates the user should not fill that form in? Or display, none, visibility, hidden.
Screen readers are supposed to ignore hidden content. Give the honeypot form field a class, and hide it using CSS.
Any bot that is accessing the page will see the content, but the screen readers and regular users will not see it.
We use the honeypot technique on our site, loading the CSS that hides it dynamically, assuming the bots will not run JS.
Our forms are processed on a different system, so no email is sent from the web server. The scripts that handle it check for data in the honeypot fields. If they find anything, the form post is deleted without further processing. Deleted.
My guess is those scripts are designed to be as fast and efficient as possible, so they don't bother with loading CSS and JS.
Honestly, I've been disappointed by reCAPTCHA's inefficiency on public contact forms, so I might give this a shot. The problem is ignoring these fields isn't a huge undertaking. Anyone aware of this method to catch fake accounts will quickly upgrade their bots to not do it. It's not even an hour's work.
This has not happened in my experience. 99% of bot attacks against my site get caught by the honeypot first.
Not even an hour of human work, but it adds a CSS, JS load to every operation. I mean, it makes sense why major companies are ditching vision-based CAPTCHA systems since they're so easily bypassable with AI or paid services. I remember paying something like $2 to solve 2,000 CAPTCHAs while I was grabbing subtitles for my media server.
Vision-based CAPTCHAs were never about AI being unable to identify pictures.
They were about training those AI models. The security of a CAPTCHA was beyond the images you filled out.
Worth mentioning that if op is using client-side React, then the bot is loading JS. Do they?
Or do they just go to the next one? Not like there's a lack of shitty unsecured websites out there.
It's not hard to use headless Firefox or some other headless browser that will run JS.
Quality bots will run JS.
This is a case of how tall of a fence do you need to put up to keep the majority of attackers out. Elaborate security measures that keep almost everything nefarious out will likely not pay off unless you are operating at a large scale and get frequently attacked by government-sized actors. But putting up a small fence will keep the people who can't afford to build a ladder out, and if that is the majority of your attacks, it is likely worth it.
Low-effort attacks get shot down by low-effort security measures. Only the most naive bots are caught this way, yes.
However, you're probably able to manually deal with the one single bot that overcomes this hurdle.
I had over 100 fake users a day signing up.
The hidden input field reduced that to 0, and in approximately 5 years since, I haven't had a single bot slip by. This simple approach blocks more than 50% of the bot signups on my site. Bots still do get through, but in nothing like the numbers there would be otherwise. Because many forms in today's world have hidden fields that are still required for the form to work.
Think most styles select boxes that aren't even a select box underneath.
The real input element is hidden but manipulated via JavaScript. That's my guess anyway.
We initially tested adding the style directly to the input field. Most of the bots were smart enough to deal with that. So, we started doing the following. Less than form action equals hash, method equals post, greater than
less than input type equals checkbox, id equals agreeterms, name equals agreeterms, class equals contact checkbox, greater than less than label for equals agreeterms, greater than you agree lorem ipsum dolor sit omet less than label greater than
less than form greater than window onload equals function var agree terms input equals document get element by id
agreeterms input style display equals none agreeterms input style visibility equals hidden. The JavaScript is loaded from an external file. The id for the honeypot field uses an innocuous name, although I am not sure that makes a difference or not. If the bot does not load and run the JavaScript, the field is not hidden. After implementing this, we saw a near 95% reduction in bot form posts. So, apparently most of the bots are not running the JavaScript. This LD change in the future, but for now it works. An accessibility label could be filtered and excluded pretty easily by a bot. Yep, just with any of these other honeypot tricks, they're not foolproof. You could make the label vague enough that it wouldn't be immediately recognized as a "don't fill this in" label by a bot, but it's not perfect. Something like, optionally enter in your IN, or customer awards number, or, if you're using a screen reader, please skip this field. My label says, bots will fill this one out. Cheeky smiley face. Just name the hidden field, nick, or username, or email, and give the real one an unusual name like ABCD. The name will never be seen by the user, so you can just put in whatever. For user visible identification, you use things like less than label greater than element or ARIA label attribute. I like using field names like email. Bots are eager to fill this one out. Call the real email field something else like gender. That's a great way to break Password Manager's autofill feature. Mine doesn't autofill hidden fields, does yours? That's a big security hole because it causes you to submit data you weren't expecting to. NVM if the field is hidden. If their unique solution is targeted, yes. Or I guess AI-powered bots could figure it out, we are fucked. By that logic, any honeypot could be filtered and excluded easily, e.g. only fill in the fields that are visible. In practice, bots don't render the fields or look at any niche attributes, instructions, they just fill out any form they find with dummy data. Haha bro, I was just watching GOT and saw your username. Lol, love it. Usually we include something that says, leave this field blank, or similar, so anyone who happens upon it will know not to fill it out. Unlike other comments here, we also hide things via positioning or other visual CSS effect, to avoid sending a clear signal to bots that it isn't being displayed. Honeypots won't work 100% of the time. If someone is actively trying to bot your website, they can always tailor the bot to match your forms as displayed to a human. But if it's mostly the automated web scraper bots trying to fill out any form they find online, you can get almost all of them if you set up the honeypot well. You reverse it. Most bots will check each box. If the box is already checked and the box is invisible to humans, a bot will uncheck it. For bots that read strings, you just mimic a string commonly checked and the bots will again uncheck the box. Unless you have JavaScript poorly implemented, it will not be able to tell if the box is 1 or 0. Edit. Also, for screen readers you should be using ARIA tags and hidden, which means it's hidden to said screen reader. Above still applies. ARIA hidden equals true. Again, it won't fool smarter bots, but it'll get the dumber ones for sure. You just set it to display none and screen readers won't prompt for it. Oh man. Screen readers. I guess I'll take out that redirect to the anal prolapse video. Just replace the audio track with something pleasant, That way screen reader users won't be bothered by it. Cheeky smiley face.
A bunny nibbling on lettuce. Got it. This is awesome. Could you explain some more, please? Is there a library for doing that or something?
Less than input type equals hidden, name equals not honeypot, value equals tab index equals -1, greater than if empty $_post not honeypot return . A hidden input that shouldn't be accessible to the user, that if filled you discard the request.
More robust version, in theory.
Less than input type equals text, name equals not honeypot, value equals autocomplete equals off, tab index equals -1, style equals width 0, height 0, opacity 0, position absolute, top -1 px, left -1 px, z index -1, greater than .
Op should probably just go with HCAPTCHA and be done with it. I will offer this edit to say that you can use "aria hidden" for accessibility purposes.
There is also the visibility CSS tag, which also removes it from the accessibility tree. The hidden attribute tag can be used with aria hidden . Don't use type equals hidden, and the name should be more enticing to the bot. Less than div style equals opacity 0.01, position fixed, left -9999 px, bottom -9999 px. Aria hidden equals true, greater than less than input type equals text, name equals phone, value equals autocomplete equals off, greater than less than div greater than.
The bots weren't wisening up to type equals hidden for a long while. It's kinda funny. I have not had issues with type equals hidden, personally. Bots can skip elements which are hidden through display none, too. That's why I offered the alternative. It's a total YMMV because it depends on the effort of those writing the software. I like to use opacity O, or 0.01, position relative, left -9999 px. Yeah. That's the solution I normally use. I'll change it now. Don't use styles like this that actually result in a visible form field, or screen reader users will be tricked by them. They'll also get filled in by password managers which are configured to ignore autocomplete equals off signals, common. Screen readers will definitely leave out display none fields, but most bots are too dumb to notice this. Added aria hidden equals true for this. Let's assume the user is blind. Will the screen reader skip the input? Yes. You should be implementing aria tags for accessibility. So when you place the hidden tag, the screen reader will ignore it, the bot will still check it. I mean, the bots could also check the aria tags. They can, but that's where you would get into more advanced solutions. This would make it so the screen reader wouldn't pick up the honeypot. If you don't use the aria tag, the screen reader will pick up the hidden field. If you do, it won't. Bots and hacking is just a logic tug-of-war. Unless you ban VPN access to your domain, add an IP tracking, call the ISP, and yep, lots of steps, but doable, and automation can be made for the process. Nothing in code is perfect. However, best practice exist, and the goal is to limit data and energy usage. It won't. That's a problem. A problem you can get sued for in the United States. My company's undergoing a lawsuit BC our website isn't accessible. Pretty much. It's pretty scary how they can nitpick the smallest things too. And still have a case. I don't need sleep, I need answers. I believe that's why the tab index is set to -1. My understanding is removing an input from the tab index will remove it from the screen reader being able to target it. I also provided an edit to the original message, with more screen reader options. But then what's to stop bots from incorporating that logic? I'm just trying to prove that security through obscurity doesn't work.
You don't need to prove that, because it's an opinion.
A well-regarded one that requires nuance and understanding. No one advocates for obscurity or secrecy as a primary method of security.
As a layer on top of a well-regarded foundation, it is a viable tool that should be used. There will never be a solution to this specific problem that involves 100% coverage.
To think otherwise is naive. To answer your question very succinctly, if someone is determined enough, they will get through. They will
implement that logic, and anything else you can think of.
Think of a honeypot as a camouflaged mine.
Not everyone will get hit by it. But not everyone will see it, and it is a cost-effective and efficient method to weed out lesser determined actors.
My favorite historical example applicable to this thread is Secure Image. Still used all over the web, but solved. A standard, strong foundation used for security, that was beaten by technological advancement. That's not how screen readers work at all. A tab index of -1 just takes the element out of the tab order when using the tab key. To hide an element from screen readers, you need to set aria hidden equals true, display, none visibility, hidden or similar. It's a common misconception with screen readers that they're just using the tab key to navigate between on-screen elements, but that's not the case at all. Tabbing is only between interactive elements like form inputs, buttons, links, etc. If you only used the tab key, you'd miss all text on every website ever. Your edit doesn't clarify your mistake. The documentation that I have found disagrees with you. I also disagree with you that I have made a mistake that needs clarification. I provided an edit in my original response that explains how to remove the element from the accessibility tree. I mentioned that you can use ARIA hidden and visibility attributes, but we have to avoid display none, because the argument in this thread is that bots are set to read that when used in conjunction with a form input honeypot. https://developer.mozy lla.org/n-us/docs/web/html/global_attributes/tabindex https://www.a11yproject.com/posts/how-to-use-the-tab-index-attribute/. Non-zero and non-positive numbers cannot be interacted with without scripting. Greater than tabbing is only between interactive elements like form inputs, buttons, links, etc. Certainly you are aware we are discussing an interactable element called a form input when it comes to honeypots, right? Greater than if you only used the tab key, you'd miss all text on every website ever. Text is specifically not used in honeypot deployment. Make the name something enticing like phone or something. For what it's worth, I used to use something like this on my website. I thought some bots would be smart enough to check for type equals hidden, but they fell for it 100% of the time. I suggested HCAPTCHA because it's a more robust solution that is much harder for bots to detect. I actually use a combination of both. +1 for HCAPTCHA. It has reduced spam submissions from a handful per day to 1 to 2 per month on some sites I've built. You have to email HCAPTCHA to delete your account. No thank you. What does Google require you to do for reCAPTCHA? You can do it with plain HTML, CSS, JS. https://dev.to/fully-pay-regazio/how-to-create-a-simple-honeypot-to-protect-your-web-forms-from-spammers-20v and 8. It's pretty simple. You create two hidden HTML input with the name, name, and email. If those are filled, it means a bot filled the form. Your form would look something like this.
less than form greater than less than input type equals hidden name equals name greater than less than input type equals hidden name equals email greater than less than input type equals text name equals something random 1231 inches placeholder equals full name greater than less than input type equals email name equals something else random placeholder equals email address greater than less than form greater than. Don't do this.
Would be a problem for autofill.
This is also how websites steal your details because browser autofills hidden fields while user thinks they only gave out their name.
What if you set autocomplete to off?
Then you have a worse user experience as they can't auto-enter their name and email. You should set autocomplete to off for the honeypot field.
Browsers don't all respect that attribute, so you may still end up with autofilled fields.
You're right, my bad. This was the recommended way the last time I had to implement an honeypot because the bots were ignoring non-relevant fields.
This was like 6 years ago, so yeah, there's probably better ways now. Anyone using autofill or some kind password manager would probably trigger this too by mistake. Also, most bots are able to determine if an input is of type hidden and can easily ignore it.
It's usually more effective to create a normal input and hide it via combination of HTML and CSS.
Even then, not foolproof. I use both a hidden input and a visually obscured one. OMG, the honeypot. This is what I've done on mine to get over the issue of suspected bots signing up, followed by a simple storage notification system to notify me when I, admin, log in of all the suspected bots that signed up. Then if one is a real person by mistake, I can press add to add them to my database. If not, they get deleted. I've heard of this technique before, it's well known. What I don't understand is why bots wouldn't just avoid filling out hidden fields. It would be super simple for them to check the visibility. Are you a bot? No. Haha, got you, sucker.
You can also install fail2ban, which should filter out a lot of automated brute force login attacks.
I'd even take the extra step and ban any IP address that attempts to access wp-admin.php or similar. I like using first name as the name field and having a hidden last name field. Honeys always fall for it. And if someone has a weird autofiller, oh well, not my problem.
This is one of the easiest and most effective ways I can tell for sure.
There are a lot of different bots out there. However, here are some that I know make the rounds. Create a login to then make comments, reviews. Create a login to make a profile that has links in it. Create a login to try and scrape other members' data, emails, phone numbers, etc., or any other data behind a sign-up wall.
There's also the ones looking to see if they get an email to the address they used, and if the comments they entered are in the email too.
If they are, that form can be used to send out their spam. Neat. I haven't seen one of those before.
The easiest method is to add a honeypot. If it still happens, then add a CAPTCHA and/or CSRF token. How does CSRF help if the form page is a landing page?
Helps prevent curl requests directly without loading the page first. Cheers, and to you, Bottle Candor.
What mechanism prevents them from requesting the page, sniping the CSRF, then submitting?
I've never heard of CSRF being an anti-botting measure.
It's always been framed as a security measure in my experience.
Nothing. It's just one more obstacle.
The goal of the token is to prevent the form from being submitted without loading the HTML page. So if a bot never loads the HTML page, then they won't have the CSRF token.
I've had this same issue. I believed they were doing it to flood victims' inboxes with unsolicited emails so they'll miss a key email like, your PayPal account was just accessed from 4x.
Adding a CAPTCHA will solve it.
This is the perfect use case for a CAPTCHA.
At least for reCAPTCHA v2, it does not solve it, but it does slow it down massively. CAPTCHAs are increasingly solved by automated software these days. No one doing this is bothering with automated software. They'll move on to the next SaaS service that doesn't have CAPTCHA and sends an email verification.
There's 1000s. I run a service protected by reCAPTCHA v2, so I can say with authority that yes, bots do solve these automatically. If you Google for reCAPTCHA v2 solve, you'll get a page full of results for automatic reCAPTCHA bypass as a service.
They might for high-value stuff, not denying that.
I'm saying for this use case they won't bother. Do you send an email automatically to the person who registered? I had spammers signing up for users at my site because we automatically sent emails out. They'd sign up with first names like, buy Viagra @http://
Then we'd send off an email, doing their spamming for them.
Deleted.
Ironically, it's a medical-related site, and clients had to disclose what medications they're using, so Viagra would be a perfectly normal thing to appear on the site.
Otherwise good advice smiley face. I was getting like 200 to 300 fake users per a day. I added Cloudflare Turnstile to my login page and it dropped down to nearly 0 fake now. Could be real users. Real users are confusing and unpredictable. Careful with this.
Could be someone testing out a bot, or trying to poke around your site for some vulnerability.
My site was getting tons of forms spam, contact form, almost non-stop at one point. I implemented silent, hidden reCAPTCHA.
But at the same time I also switched up to a new version of PHP for the backend, 5 to 7x. Some part of me thinks switching the PHP version may have stopped everything. Thankfully, either way it did stop. This is a common way scammers help to defraud people. Let's say hacker has access to your PayPal account and they are going to buy a ton of Apple cards or something. They use websites like yours to hide the notification emails the user will receive when they perform their actions on the service they have gained access to. As an example, scammers wants to purchase an Apple card with your PayPal account, so they set off a bot which signs you up to hundreds of websites over the course of a few minutes. In the interim they make the transaction and the confirmation email is buried in between all the spam so the user is less likely to notice and to cancel the transaction.
That's pretty clever, didn't know about this.
It's just bots. Easiest solution is to make a hidden field that users can't see but bots can and then ban any users that fill in that field.
This is called a honeypot.
How do you know they are fake? Sometimes I'll sign up just to check it out, and then never use the site again. That's natural user behavior if your entire product, service is behind a login screen, especially if the first post-login experience is high friction or doesn't seem to meet the expectations set by the landing page.
Here is the best solution to that. Less than form onSubmit equals document. Cookie equals I_am_real equals 1, greater than. Less than, form greater than. And hash x200b. In your receiving script.
Less than. PHP if $_cookie I_am_real echo you are real greater than.
No need to piss off people with CAPTCHA. All those bots are too stupid to parse JavaScript. Of course you can make the cookie name random and make the script more difficult.
Another way is instead of less than input name equals xxx type equals text greater than you can use less than div data type equals text data name equals xxx greater than less than div greater than then write a JavaScript that creates inputs based that.
Bots won't even find your forms.
This breaks for both users with JavaScript disabled and users with cookies disabled. This is not a particularly rare situation.
Who cares about users with JS disabled in 2024 though? Most of the web is already unusable for them.
A popular approach is to disable JavaScript using the NoScript extension by default, or any one of dozens of privacy enhancers, and then only manually turn it on for websites that are actually broken without it. So it would be nice to at least give the user a heads up and an error message about it so they can turn JS back on. Bots still won't read the error message, so it won't hurt that. You'll want the visitor to enable JS to complete actual reCAPTCHA tests anyway.
No, it doesn't break.
They can see the website totally fine but won't be able to submit forms.
They choose to be a static visitor. I don't think the last method you mentioned would be good for accessibility. You probably want your input elements to be input elements. They are still inputs, but created by JavaScript. So it will work with accessibility. Here is an example. https://shareimage.net/. I mean, the exact same reason it's more difficult for bots to parse is the reason it's more difficult for accessibility tools to parse it. Accessibility tools don't post and are still using JavaScript. What's up with the backslashes Reddit? _what work? Or, if you use code formatting, then the escaping isn't necessary. I didn't escape this, Reddit did. I didn't hit code. Reddit should have just ignored it. Oh, weird. Reddit's text formatter is really annoying. Some Reddit clients auto-escape on write and auto-unescape on read. Does it on links, too? Very irritating. Do not implement it via inline JS events though, do it in a proper JS file. Or else you will have a hard time implementing an effective CSP, as you may have to allow unsafe inline, opening the website to more XSS vulnerabilities. Yes. Even better. But for understanding, this is a basic version. Won't work against the UI bots. Those are minority, but why not to use an invisible CAPTCHA instead of inventing a bicycle? Like reCAPTCHA v3. Because it's way more resources to load reCAPTCHA. One line of code versus an entire library. Plus reCAPTCHA is annoying. I've been using this for the last 10 years. And my spam count is 0. So I guess UI bots is not a thing. Now if your website is as large as Facebook, of course you will have those bots that are specifically built for Facebook. Then you can implement existing advanced, annoying ways. Another thing that I noticed is that hackers also try SQL injections, but they forget to send the cookie. So even if my input was unsafe, it won't work because of the forgotten cookie. Plus, there's cost, if you're at that sort of scale, and having to incorporate reCAPTCHA's privacy policy into your own. Those were the primary deal killers the last time I looked into it, on behalf of a company where those concerns were significant. On the sites I use reCAPTCHA, I now get a lot of spam offering to sell me a program that beats reCAPTCHA and sends bulk email via contact forms. And since they beat the CAPTCHA, it's pretty good advertising. Greater than why would bots do that? Because it's simpler to make a bot try and sign up to anything that looks like it might result in gaining a link to something, than trying to manually curate a list of sites. One possibility is subscription or registration spam. Someone could set up a bot and use your site to send a registration email to the target, and could also be doing so on other websites. That could lead to the target receiving thousands of messages, and could be for various reasons. Another is to see if the address is valid, or already registered with your site. If it isn't, now they know the user doesn't use that service currently. If the target email already exists, now they know one survey. CE the target uses and can design a phishing email, for example, similar to your company's emails, and attempt to phish the user. Also, if registered with your site, the attacker could try to access the user account on your site if the target was included in AA breach or leak, and test those credentials against your site. I'd add a CAPTCHA, or some other human verification that'll probably drop it down to approximately 1 rather than approximately 10 at a time. Even if you add a very simple question as a CAPTCHA, it almost always works well enough in my sites to cut out the junk bots, e.g. if your website is selling gemstones. Please answer the question. This website is mainly about gazelles, golf, gems, or grass. Welcome to the internet. Bots everywhere and getting worse. I have my online forms and login protected with Google reCAPTCHA and it works. For the most notorious bots, I block out entire IP ranges, especially if it is a country where they have no business browsing the site. I got block IPs at the server level since I own my own dedicated Metal servers. Greater than they just sign up, receive the confirmation email and do
Nothing.
What are you expecting them to do?
There do exist people who sign up for things they may or may not get around to looking up later.
Or who don't get the email. Or who do get it, but it's filtered out of their inbox by macros or anti-spam systems. If anything, I'm surprised it's only 10 per day. How is 10 people's initial information per day causing you any kind of perceptible load on your databases or email systems, or a thing else?
If it was 10 million, then okay, maybe you'd need something a little beefier to handle it, but 10?
Here's the million-dollar question you didn't answer up. How are you sure they are fake? Greater than why would bots do that? Make us spend money on emails? IDK about filling out the sign-up form, but my sites regularly get hit with requests to non-existent login pages, which seems like an attempt to hijack old WP sites. Add a CAPTCHA, fixed it for me. Honeypots. These are invisible fields in your form that users don't see and, therefore, don't fill out.
Bots, on the other hand, often fill out every field, so you can filter these entries out.
Or implement checks to see how users interact with your site. Bots usually have a very straightforward, scripted way of interacting, unlike humans. How do you know they are fake? I use CSRF token, Google CAPTCHA, and also send a token to the user's email which they must verify for their account to be activated.
The verification token expires within 48 hours, but they can request another from the login page. The sign-up form also uses a library that does basic email validation during registration. The only fake users I get sign up with disposable email.
I use disposable emails for signing up to new sites loudly crying.
Explains why I have issues signing up sometimes. Add verification step. On sign up, send a code to the email which then need to be entered before you can store the user data in your database. Most common now is use token instead and send a URL to the email.
The influx of approximately 10 fake users daily may be bots testing your system's vulnerabilities.
It isn't solely to increase your email or database load, but could be for various nefarious purposes.
I guess that implementing a CAPTCHA is a good start to mitigate this issue. reCAPTCHA v3, for example, is simple to use and implement. It's free and will prevent most bots.
Why not use it? CAPTCHA is not working?
A simple solution is to add a honeypot input in your form.
Set the opacity to 0 so normal users won't see it.
Position to absolute, top 0 and left 0.
If a user, bot, fills these extra inputs, you then ignore or reject the sign-up.
In addition to this, add a CAPTCHA.
Following.
I use **IP cat* to filter, block all post requests from data centers. https://github.com/rail/ipcat closing square bracket opening parenthesis https://github.com/rail/ipcat closing parenthesis. Real users are not going to be browsing your website from a data center. Yeah, use Cloudflare and Google CAPTCHA. I'm posting after 159 other comments, so this may have already been said.
But I signed on for a free Cloudflare account, and that eliminated a lot of my junk.
You can set up a rule to block or challenge bad bots. That stopped it for me before it even got to the firewall smiley face. Just create a rule like this. CF threat_score GE10. Then under choose action, you can do manage challenge or interactive challenge.
They're bots that input emails on thousands of sites to flood a person's email, which is usually used by cyber criminals to make logging into an account and stealing money easier. Hey there, that is a strange situation.
Fake users can definitely be annoying. Here are some ideas on how to mitigate them, besides just a CAPTCHA. *double opt-in.
This requires users to verify their email address by clicking a link in a confirmation email. This is a simple and effective way to ensure users are real and interested. *honeypot CAPTCHA. This is a hidden form field that bots will fill out, but humans won't. If anything gets entered in that field, you know it's a bot.
Email verification services. ***. These services can check email addresses for validity and risk factors. **Analyze sign-up behavior. ***. Look for suspicious patterns like super fast sign-ups, nonsensical user data, or multiple accounts from the same IP address. Consider a CAPTCHA. While not perfect, a CAPTCHA like Google's reCAPTCHA v3 can help identify bots without being too intrusive for real users.
Hi ChatGPT. I had the same problem.
I had to go in and manually delete their accounts.
We don't know why. We're not a large service and we don't know how they find us to target us. We implemented some extra bit detection and CAPTCHAs and it's been better.
Maybe one a week gets through.
+1 for the honeypot CAPTCHA. If you do end up going for the CAPTCHA method, you can always do invisible first before impacting users using the form with something visual. Scammers seem to waste a lot of time and energy until you realize when their attacks work, they hit pay dirt.
Like everyone said, secure your app, CAPTCHA, Cloudflare, honeypot, upfront cost. Keep your app clean and make it not worth their while for you. I've seen this before as an way to relay spam content to real emails. The spammer fills in spam content as the form data text plus URL as first name plus last name etc. Spammer is hoping that you are printing that data in the body of the email somehow. They get a trusted SMTP account as the sender.
Magento had a big problem with this before they implemented native reCAPTCHA in the platform, and for some reason had zero length limits on the first name and last name attributes for the customer entity.
Biwa. This can get your mail delivery IP blacklisted by spam filters if enough people get pissed off and decide to flag you. Who cares why? Maybe they are pen testing for exploits, like a CSRF or XSS attack. Cloudflare bot protection is free. Also use a reCAPTCHA.
That should at least deter them. It'd be hilarious if someone on your team was secretly paying for a service to modestly pad your adoption and you've built a feature to automatically remove them rolling on the floor laughing. I recommend avoiding registrations directly. A simple honeypot is very effective and prevents your application from sending thousands of registration emails to email addresses that surely do not want to receive them. Many times the registration email even bounces because the destination mailbox is full.
I don't know if that can give you points to end up on a blacklist, but I prefer not to find out.
I'm sure you are probably right. But there are plenty of real people out there that behave like bots. The invisible forms folks have suggested sound a good idea. Also consider a trivial one-off CAPTCHA. Only your site says, type the sum 42 plus 89. Just enough to be a barrier to broadcasty bots.
Personally, I'd avoid strict filtering, in case there are genuine users that look the same as fakes. Maybe have a graylist kind of bag. Treat them the same as real users for a couple of weeks, if there's subsequent legit interaction, whitelist. If not, block them.